Hi, I'm Esther Lee, as Wandy mentioned, and I'm a Principal Product Manager for the Language AI Services at AWS. So I work on services that include transcription, natural language understanding, a lot of that AI ML goodness. And today I'm here with Tim. So Tim, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm very excited to be back face-to-face, talking about AI around customer experience. My kids don't like to hear about it, so I'm glad you guys like to hear about it. I'm Tim Holney. I'm the CEO of Humosh, which stands for Humans Plus Machines. So we blend the creativity and experience of humans with AI and machine learning to deliver better customer experiences.
Great. So to get started, this is a quick agenda. We're going to talk about the trends and challenges that you're seeing in the contact center. Give you a little flavor for what AWS calls our Contact Center Intelligence program, which is utilizing AWS as well as one of our great partners, TalkDesk, and Humosh all together, which we're really excited to tell you more about. We'll give you a quick demo and then talk about some of our customer success stories that really show that impact that you can really work towards as you implement AI in your contact center. All right, so the discussion's going to be, interactive. If you guys have questions, feel free to raise your hands during it. You can also let Wandy know. She can also let us know what your question is. We can take them at the end, or if you have one burning during the session, feel free to ask them as well. So in terms of current challenges in the contact center today, our customers often are telling us, the customer expectations are evolving. They want to have 24/7 interactions and availability. They want that omni-channel access with the channel of their choice, whether they want to call, they want to text. They also want to know that your interactions are integrated with all of the different systems so that when they call in, you actually know who they are. And so a lot of that is around that evolving customer expectation. And it's a little bit, as it evolves, it's more demanding, maybe a little high maintenance, but how do you evolve as a customer in order to meet those 24/7 needs and the new expectations that customers are having? And the second one that we often see is around just that demand from a perception of insights. So as you're collecting all of that data and having it stored and those calls are being recorded, are you really able to tap into all of those insights and understand why customers are calling and what are the struggles that your agents are having in order to answer those questions? And Tim, you are dealing with this day in, day out. You've got agents on the ground. What are some of the other challenges that you're seeing as well?
Yeah, so not just in the contact center, but as you look at AI and automation, IT complexity, right? We see that as one of the top, right? All these different CRM and ERP and workforce management, omni-channel platform and ACD and insights and speech analytics, and you need to make it all work together. So IT complexity makes it hard to kind of look at some of the AI and automation. I think the fourth one, I guess I'll call it, is labor. Labor costs in today's contact centers, right? Attrition, wages, right? If you're not willing to pay $20, $22 an hour, Walmart and McDonald's and Target are paying that for their domestic contact center seats, right? You're going to have those challenges as well. And, since COVID, managing a virtual workforce, right? I call it the 4 M's, right? Managing, motivating, measuring, monitoring the performance of those people in the home. A lot of people weren't operating in the home before COVID, and now you have to be able to do that. And the last one, I think, is kind of poorly designed AI, right? We ask companies sometimes, do you use AI and machine learning? They're like, yeah, we have a chatbot. It's like, it's really, you're throwing FAQs at us, and it's not very friendly. And so some of the IVR trees, I called last week, and you hit press 1, press 2, press 8. If you press 2, press 1, and you're tired by the time you actually get to an agent. And so I think that has to change in the contact center as well.
Absolutely. And so then how are your customers using AI to solve contact center challenges, and kind of what benefits are you seeing? For us at AWS, one of the big things that we look at when we look at AI application in the contact center space, it really comes down to two things. It's that automation, being able to take data and automate a lot of those routine actions that are over and over again, and being able to do it at scale, right? And so all those calls are coming in. Sometimes we were limited to surveys or random call listening, and now you can actually use our transcription and look at all of those calls that are coming in. So that's one thing around the automation side. And then the second piece is really how do you put that data to work? And so what we really look at there is around the insights that you can pull out of all of that data that you have, and how can you really make business decisions out of the insights that are coming out of that. And so what else are you seeing?
I'll play right into that. So personalization, right? Knowing that customer when they come in, their preferences, how to take that to the resolution as quick as possible. Customer satisfaction. And this will come up a lot. I think Esther already mentioned it, 24/7. Who operates 24/7 by 365 today in their contact centers? Does everybody? Does anybody?
None of you.
Right? So having a customer call, do you at least attempt to automate that transaction? Even if you start with a 10 or 20% automation containment rate, you've at least attempted to do so. And if you can't, then you open a ticket and you work on it in the future and you get back tomorrow. Is that better? Is that a better customer experience than saying call back tomorrow at 8 a.m.? So I think customer satisfaction is definitely one.
Absolutely.
Back to labor, right? The attrition issues, large queues, how to use AI to start to handle some of these high volume, low complexity transactions, leaving a more complex transaction for a trained, educated agent to be able to resolve. I think that's big as well.
Yeah, and so at AWS, we have what we call contact center intelligence. And so what that boils down to is really adding AI, ML capabilities into your current contact center, whether that's a cloud contact center, whether that's your on-prem. We work with a variety of different contact centers, and Talkdesk is one of our major partners in this area, but there are many others as well, and there's no ML expertise required. You don't need a data science team, you don't need machine learning experts, you just need folks who can say, this is my business goal, and we will help you achieve that through either, we'll dive into kind of the 3 use cases and the 3 jobs in the contact center that we really focus on applying AI ML to. So these are the slew of kind of the AI services that I work on. They're all NLP based, so we've got Comprehend that's doing natural language processing, really understanding what all of that text is saying. We've got Kendra, which is a machine learning powered search system that really understands context and pulls out and finds answers that isn't just the document, but actually the specific snippet within the document for that answer, for the answer to the query that you're asking. And then there's Lex, which is our basis for our conversational IVRs, as well as chatbots. Polly is all the good voices that you can bring about, and then Transcribe is that speech-to-text goodness, as well as translation. But this is at the API level, right? And what we really are doing is working with partners to bring that and create solutions to solve 3 primary jobs. And so the main solutions that we are building are around self-service virtual agents, real-time call analytics and agent assist, giving that next best action, and then post-call analytics, which is really kind of analyzing all of that call data and pulling out the insights that you care about. Why is my customer calling? What are my top intents? Are my agents really being successful in answering those questions? And so that's kind of how we focus. And so today, I get to be here with Humash, with Tim, who is a reseller of Talkdesk, which is one of our main partners, where they've taken our AI services and brought in their own magic into a end-to-end cloud contact center where you can get a lot of this out of the box. And so AWS is riding on the bottom of that. And so Talkdesk is a cloud contact center The 3 jobs that we're focusing on today, really, you can see here, they've got a virtual agent voice, they've got a digital agent, and you can see how as the customer query comes in, that it's hitting these different jobs that are happening. So there's that self-service piece all the way through to once it gets picked up by the agent, then the AI kicks in to help that agent and give them recommendations on how to really address the questions that's happening. So let me show you what that looks like.
Before you do, that's what's really exciting, right? So you have all those AI services and capabilities of AWS, along with TalkDesk, where you can literally automate these transactions and transact. You can go through a payment gateway. You can literally resolve these transactions without a human agent. And you can do it without a huge IT initiative where you're queuing it up to your IT group, and you're able to deliver these very quickly as well.
Yeah. And so here you'll actually see, and it might be hard for those in the back, but this is Agent Assist in action, all within the TalkDesk agent desktop. And so you'll see here on the left-hand side, call information that's coming in, the phone number, how long it's been, and then on the right-hand side is that Agent Assist piece where somebody's actually calling in and they want to make a booking and they want to know how to use a travel voucher that they have. And so you'll see the transcription coming out in real time, and it's on a little loop, but let me see, wait for it to come back around. So you'll see the transcription going on, and then the customer say, I'd like to use my travel voucher, and then there's that recommendation pop-up that's coming up. And so if the agent clicks the recommendation right there, you'll see then it goes and dips into the knowledge base and pulls out that snippet about, okay, what should I say next in terms of to tell the customer how to actually redeem that travel voucher. And so it really enables and cuts down that resolution time where before they would actually have to type into the knowledge base, figure out, okay, is this the right document that I should be looking at? It's already all happening to help automate that whole search process and enable them to make the best next recommendation. And then on the self-service side, we're actually going to run you through a use case as well in just a little bit. But wanted to talk through, Tim, what are some of the struggles that customers are really seeing when they're trying to evaluate, okay, out of all the use cases when evaluating AI, what should I think about and how do I make a choice?
I think the big one, I mentioned IT complexity, but IT roadmaps. Now, you're a business leader and you want to test some of this technology. How do you get that into your IT group? They come back to you with their priorities, and you can test that in Q2 of 2023. And you're like, no, I want to test it in 60 days. If it works, roll it out. If not, fail fast and move on. And the IT roadmaps, having the ability to implement some of these without a big IT initiative is really big. We have a little video on Humash Labs of why we created that Humash Labs to allow you to pilot some of that CX technology within your own ecosystem without a big heavy move from an IT perspective.
Yeah. And one of the other things that we also see is the kind of getting the right stakeholders to move your case forward. So what we often ask is for customers to really look at, okay, what is the business objective and what is the use case that you're trying to really solve and bring AI into? So it's really that kind of 3 pieces where it's the resources, what is the use case that you're looking at, and then who are the stakeholders that need to get involved in that decision. And so what are some other strategies that you have in terms of, kind of helping that folks in this room should really consider as they're looking to implement AI?
Evaluate and be honest with your own organization if they're ready for AI, right? I think that's a big one that you come up with. What gaps? Do you have to deal with legacy systems in order to make this work? Or are you able to literally put some of these technologies in place? Look at that use case. Look at that ROI, right? So I would say do the numbers, because if you have an ROI model that can justify the capital and internal resources, that's easy for that investment to happen. And I think it's easy as you look at the numbers to be able to extrapolate the ROI when you add a digital agent.
Right. And so how many folks in this room are running on like on-prem contact center systems? Okay, and then the rest are in the cloud already? Okay, going there, on the migration path. Excellent. And so, yeah, and I think that's always a interesting place to think about, like, when should I bring in the AI component of it? Like, the way that we really work with customers is saying, okay, so if you're looking at an overall migration, what timeline does that take? And when would you like to start bringing it in? A lot of our AI capabilities, such as like the chatbot, you can actually create one chatbot, and underneath it, you can run your on-prem, you can have a cloud contact center, and just switch it out based on the timing of your overall migration.
The other key to get executive support from the top, and then make sure you have organizational alignment with the other functional areas that are going to be involved. And I stress that because if you get them on board early, it's easier to get everybody on the same page when it looks at what you're going to look at from a use case perspective and how you're going to build that ROI model.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, and so do you want to tell them a little more, Tim, about how Humash works and how you work?
Yep. So at Humash, we provide BPO services for live agents, sales, and support. We also have conversational AI and automation. And we think our success actually comes on the AI side because we've run contact centers for 3.5 decades, right? So having the ability to run those contact centers actually gives you a leg up when you look at AI and a digital agent. So anybody running contact centers, don't underestimate your knowledge from a contact center perspective. And then if you're on the IT side, don't underestimate tapping into that brain power of the people that actually operate contact centers within your business as well. And then the last is the AI and managed services platform, which Esther mentioned we're a reseller for TalkDesk, right? Which is how we have some of the AWS AI services as well. We found that some of the companies, as they moved to the cloud, didn't have these resources internally to be able to stand up an omni-channel platform. Or what do they do with telco and circuits and all those others, and conversational design and scripting? And so managed services became a big part of our offering so that you can go to one partner that can actually deliver the whole AWS and TalkDesk instance in one shot.
Right, which is pretty incredible.
And this is actually the Humash Labs video I wanted to show you, created from some of the IT complexity and roadblocks we see.
You're an executive that wants to reduce labor and increase revenue and customer experience. But you're limited by internal functional silos and IT roadmaps that push your initiatives out for multiple years. What if you had a solution that allowed you to bypass organizational roadblocks and incubate new customer experience strategies quickly? Now you do. Introducing Humash Labs. We provide all the necessary resources to test in a live environment, letting you see the results of your innovation in real time. With our agents, processes, and technology, you don't have to allocate many of your resources to testing out new AI and automation solutions. Business doesn't stop, but now you have the analytics, data, and results to seamlessly unify your enterprise around your customer journey. The results of your live pilot will guide you on the path to full implementation, along with a full customer lifecycle management strategy and a roadmap for future technology enablement, all before a typical implementation would even get started. Taking chance out of change. Humans plus machines. That's Humash.
Great.
I'm going to take this off because it's 100 degrees outside.
And so now we're going to jump in, and I think Tim's going to run you through a few customers.
So this is really what you want to hear. It's a use case of what we did. It's very, very relevant, and it's very, very recent, right? So Premier Marine Amusement Park in the U.S., can't mention their name, but maybe you could guess who it is. But they had a mission with all their interactions to how do they start to automate the transactions? How do they bring some of the information to the agents, because they had so many different databases that they were pulling from? How do they enable a secure payment as part of a digital agent strategy? And how did they decrease some of the hold times, which after COVID we came out of COVID, they had hold times approaching an hour. And so what we did, and how do you provide 24/7 support, which I already talked about a little bit ago.
Yeah.
So not just a digital agent, I talked about this too. So we won this, and I'll be the first to admit, we probably shouldn't have won over these very, very large omni-channel providers, but it was that experience from a contact center perspective which really gave us a leg up. We were there solving their challenges of people who had been in those roles for 10 and 15 and 20 years, both live agent and AI. And so by understanding what those challenges were, we were able to bring an approach to the omni-channel platform and then some of the AI services that AWS adds as well. So use cases, very simple, right? Park hours, what time are your parks open? By the way, they have 12 different parks, and they're always changing on who's open when. And what about the pricing? And by the way, the pricing, I want to switch my tickets, and I want to add more tickets, and so that became sales revenue opportunity. And then what special events are going? Can I trade my tickets in? Can I add those? So the use cases were there, and we're just scratching the surface right now. So I think, did we switch that? I think go to the next slide.
Sorry.
What they had. Let's go to this first, what they had, right? So when we jumped in, they had 16 call flows, 176 unique queues, 122 phone numbers. How much actionable information do you think they were extrapolating from that? They had tons of data, but how much real actionable information was coming from this? Not much. So then we went back to the solution. I think you go back up. So solution, 2-month implementation with the fully functional Talkdesk instance with all the capabilities of Talkdesk, including the digital agent, which included all the capabilities of AWS. Think about that, 2 months, right? So you had some hands go up with legacy call centers, right? What they got, 92 digital agent intents. They got a payment gateway, so you can actually transact with the payment gateway. We reevaluated all their call flows. We eliminated some of their IVRs. We gave them insights and analytics on all those call types so that we knew what the new intents were, which they weren't aware of, and how we could build digital agent solutions around that. The intents and escalation dashboard became very interesting because everybody thinks they know why people are calling, and then you start to see some of these outliers like, well, I didn't know people were calling for that. That can become part of their training curriculum as well. And then we have the AI trainer, which is really back to the human in the loop, right? You need a human to be able to tune that, editorial review, ethical review. How do you tune those responses that are coming back into the machine? And then we gave them some of the trends and confidence levels that we could increase the automation containment rate once we get those confidence levels a little higher as well. So the outcome, right? 3 months, 200,000 transactions later, this is what we were able to deliver. And remember, this was 2-month implementation, 3 months live. Reduced headcount by 52 FTEs. We had 2,100 ticket conversion, which equated to revenue. So now my EVP of support actually has a revenue number that he's starting to focus on. How do I change that from an expense center into a profit center? 50% digital containment rate, which we actually proposed it would be 30, 35, 40% out of the gate. It's 50%. And we're just going up from there. So now we've identified new intents, and this is a never-ending process, right? So you have the humans and the tuning and the insights, and you're continuing with the digital agent. What could we get that automation containment rate up to? 80%, 90%?
Yeah.
On some transactions, can you even get higher than that?
Yeah, and Tim, do you want to talk through how that process is, right, in terms of the journey of, okay, so how do you get a self-service bot? Like that 2-month time,
Yep.
What are you doing?
Yep.
Share
So
with me.
I will go back. The big win here, and I think we didn't realize this 6 years ago when we spun some assets out into HUMASH, humans plus machines, but the conversational design became critical for this. That's how you increase automation containment rates, right? And so I challenge all of you to go back and listen to your IVR and be like, is that really how I want to design that? It's not how you want to design that digital agent. Your digital agent needs to be conversational, which you have with AWS, right? You need to be open-ended question, right? I don't want to ask you to evergreen down through some answers. When you call support, how long does it take you to get to an agent? I'm very frustrated when it takes me, a minute and 45 seconds when I get to an agent and they ask who I am and what's your number. You should have all that information. You do in those systems. And so back to the easy and simplicity of open published APIs with AWS, having the ability to extract that information and transact is key.
Yeah. And actually, just on Monday, we went GA with our chatbot conversational AI service. It's called Amazon Lex, and we released something called Automated Chatbot Designer. And what that actually does is you can just feed all of those logs and interactions that you already have, either on your IVR or on your bot, and it will pull out all of your intents, whether you have 50 or 800 of them. And it will actually then rank order them in terms of, okay, what is the frequency of those intents? And it will actually pull out all the utterances that are related to those intents. So just out of the box in a few hours, you can already then select, okay, these are the intents that I want to do. And then you do a crawl, walk, run, right? Pick the intents. Just get a couple out there, start iterating and testing, and then you can add in more and then tune that as you go. And that is, kind of as Tim was saying, that having that human in the loop to really test, to say, you know what, I think we missed maybe this type of way in which customers are saying, and then you run that, test that back out. And then what we've seen is exactly what Tim was saying, that containment rate, you can start maybe at 20 to 30% and then work your way up to much, much higher.
And just to add, this is what's next generation, having the ability to ingest this information. So now, we're looking at ingesting your website information, your FAQs, your training curriculum. And when you pull that in, you start to realize, I don't cover everything in my training. And by the way, that website marketing is like a year and 9 months old, and we don't want those answers. But what that does is start to kick out what those answers are, where a human, back to a human in the loop, will go through there and adjust that. So when you do have that interaction with the digital agent, it's the right interaction. So human in the loop, right? We start to look at that, and after it hits human in the loop, X number of times, you can actually publish that, and that becomes the answer for that digital agent.
Yeah. And so
which I just stressed out. human in the loop, right? It really is what's important. And it was funny early on, everybody was selling technology. And if you remember, I think it was IBM Watson, right? We're going to shove a whole bunch of unstructured information into this machine. It's going to solve all your problems. It doesn't work that way, right? You have to have that conversational design. You have to have that human in the loop from a training perspective. You have to have some of that knowledge of people running your contact centers, right? It's all about that customer experience.
Great, and so now I'm going to talk about more from an agent assist perspective. So Parcel Pending by Quadient, it's a smart locker company. So all those mailbox systems that you see either at offices, in residential apartments, this is a company where they're really focused on ensuring that their customers are able to know that their package deliveries and that are going inbound and outbound are all being delivered safely. And so, but they were running into some issues. Their contact center was struggling with dropped calls. They were also they weren't able to provide customers the right information when they were calling. And so hence their agents weren't able to deliver the best experience. And they really wanted to figure out how to do that. And they also wanted to optimize on data and reporting. They just didn't have that visibility into really what was going on in those calls that were coming into their contact center. And so the solution there was then they brought in TalkDesk CX, and immediately they were able to see a great improvement, just not only on the telephony side and dealing with those dropped calls, but also in implementing the AI-powered interaction analytics. And so that was able to use natural language services from AWS to really identify what are the top customer issues that were coming in, and then take that information and go back and say, hey, are my agents equipped with the right scripts in order to answer those calls? Is our knowledge base up to date to give them the best recommendations through our Agent Assist product? And so from there, the outcome was they were able to reduce their number of hires by 40%. And they were also able, and this was despite having package deliveries increased by 40%. So you know that was happening during the pandemic, right? And so they were able to reduce the number of agents that they needed to hire and have on payroll while, delivering more through their business. And in terms of their first call resolution time, they were able to lower that 29%. And improve their NPS. A lot of, this comes back down to, customer experience, right? That's all we care about. What is that customer interaction? And are we really optimizing that to make sure that customers feel heard and that they're having their answers addressed? And so in that way, Parcel Pending was really excited about the overall capabilities that Talkdesk was able to enable for their agents and provide to their end customer overall. And so I think on all of this, a lot of it just comes down to being able to take that first step. Like out of those 3 use cases, what is the one that is kind of top of mind for you, and just start there, whether it's on the IVR side, on the agent assist side, maybe it's analytics that you're looking into, and just start with one of those. And then from there, I think both of us recommend getting just a POC started. And from there, you can identify, okay, what are the goals, right? Identify your metrics early on that you want to measure, whether that's reducing your first call resolution time, maybe it's call containment. Make and map out what that expected business case is so that early on it's not just about technology, but it really is about how am I improving the overall business.
That's how I think you get the organizational alignment with all the functional areas. If you address it not from a technology perspective, but you put the numbers to it, right?
Yeah.
Hit that use case, build the ROI model, and then pilot. And we keep saying that it's like pilot, test it. There has to be, some use case that would be easy to test. Even if you don't have all the integrations done, if you could actually justify the model, that would justify some of the integrations work that might need to be done with your IT group down the road.
Yeah. And so in terms of next steps to get started, we would love to do like a deeper dive into our demos and really give you a flavor for our, chat bots, our voice bots, Agent Assist. I gave you like a 30-second flyby. So, we'd love to just show you more of what we've got. Feel free to go to the Talkdesk booth. They've got lots to show. Perry is actually, say hello. She's from Talkdesk, so you might find her there. She can give you kind of the full exposure of what Talkdesk can do. Thanks, Wandy. And the AWS booth is right out here, and we've got lots of solution architects and guys who can really show you kind of what's going on, and you can pick up a complimentary coffee and mug if you would like as well. And of course, Tim is right here to just tell you more about how to get started with the pilot. And we just wanted to also just open up the floor for the last 10 minutes and see what kind of questions you guys have.
I think we made Wandy happy. We're on time, but we would like to open it up if there's any questions.
For the implementation that took 2 months to deploy with such positive results, nice work, what was the commitment from the customer in terms of they're in on helping you execute, right? Integration's hard. It's hard to achieve those results without it. What did they have to commit to in order to achieve those kind of results in that time frame?
Yeah, great question.
That is a great question. So IT resources will actually vary depending on that client. This client actually had IT resources for people who were in the contact center, had the scripting, and we had access to all of those people. So fortunately, we'd been working with them, and so some of that was already mapped out. But let's face it, there's going to be some challenges, right? There's going to be some gaps, and as a service provider, managed service provider, it's kind of back on us to fill those gaps, right? So we have to find those resources, and I think those are tough discussions internally. It's like, we don't do that, but if you want to get this done, you have to do that. And so we'll bring in another partner. We'll go to Talkdesk, see if they have resources at times, or we'll go back to the customer, try to determine out how to overcome that challenge. But that's a fair question in every implementation I think we have, right?
Yeah. And so for Amazon, the way that we've been trying to facilitate that 2 months time in POCs, what we often do is like, you can utilize that automated chatbot designer. Depending on what industry you're in, we also have pre-built bots that already have kind of, the top intents already baked in, so you can start iterating right there out of the box. We also have, a slew of partners, as Tim was saying, who have, deeper experience. TalkDesk has great experience in the healthcare side, as well as many, many others. And so we can help to, I think it just starts first with defining what your use case is and your goals. And, if you have the transcript logs, that helps a lot as well. And I'd say the minimum team that we've found that you need is really one who is kind of the business owner, one that's like the IT owner, and one that's also really understanding the customer experience, that piece, in terms of the overall conversation and what is the target interaction that you're going for. And we can give you a lot of recommendations on what we've seen, but we kind of need that counterpart to really say, like, what is it that you want your user to experience?
Yep, and Esther, I should have emphasized that too. The templates.
Yeah.
The templates that AWS and that TalkDesk have, you're not starting at square one, right? They have the vertical templates in place. They can help you get started. In fact, a lot of times it's better than what a lot of these companies have in-house today, right? Because nobody's really paid attention to that expense center, that contact center. But look at the insights and information that's coming out of that. In a lot of cases, it's your only line of communication with your customer. So sounds like I've been the stepchild of an organization in the contact center, but really that's where all these insights are coming to. That's what's going to drive your next generation product or service, right? So tap into that information.
So, and I think you had a question.
Are you finding that customers are more trusting or willing to use AI and chatbot? You hear customers just trying to get agent or zero, or are they starting to use it more?
Yeah, I think there's a real pickup. I mean, the technology is evolving more and more by the day, both from even just, is my bot like very, very robotic in my voice, right? To now it's almost talking to you as if it was your friend, right? The implementation and the evolution of the technology is just leaps and bounds. For us, even, so Polly is like our service that does these voices. They used to have standard voices, which were more robotic, and now they're what's using neural technology, and so it's much more lifelike. And so what we're seeing is the uptake in self-service. I think we're, kind of, folks have asked the question, well, is self-service going to overtake and then reduce agents? I think you see that some of the times. I think what other times you'll see is it's actually letting the more difficult questions get through, because now you're offloading all the easier queries onto your bot. And so we've seen a lot of uptake on that perspective.
We think COVID actually accelerated the adoption rate of AI and automation. In fact, we had this conversation earlier. I think it would be 2 to 3 years later if we didn't have COVID, because now people went through those long queue times. And if you could bring in a digital agent and it was a better customer experience, what would your customers say? So we've reached out to the analysts. We want more concrete information on that research, but call your own call center and listen to that customer journey. And a lot of times it's not great. Can you improve it with the digital agent? And I would argue, yes.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Yeah. I mean, one other, I guess, to just tag on to that, one thing that we've seen is really on the IVR side and bot side is customers are really using it almost for 3 different use cases. One is just basic information capture. So, before you even hit the agent, you're often collecting a lot of information. What's your name? What's your account? Can I make sure that I'm connected into my CRM and giving my agent all of that and not wasting their time with those basic kind of, who is my customer? So that's one way that you can just use the bot. I think sometimes what happens is customers come in and they just want the bot to be already your full-blown like Alexa virtual assistant, right? And you're at that point, you're already running. We really recommend doing that crawl, walk, run, like figure out, kind of at the basic level, like is it information capture, is it routing, do you want to just start with routing? Maybe because you don't have 24/7 availability right now, you just want to make sure that your customers are getting to the right agent on try one, right? And so how do I fix that first? Or are there top FAQs that are being integrated? So, kind of what we often see is, hey, like address information capture or address routing, address maybe your top FAQs, and then use, kind of your automated chatbot and figure out top intent. Start with 3, right? And then migrate to 5, and then go from there. Okay. Great. Well, thank you
Thank
all
you.
so
Yeah.
much.